Today's lesson is how to nap like a creative genius. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Helen.
Oh, I'm so tired. I'd like to take a nap. That, of course, is something that a lot of people do at the middle of the day when they've just finished their lunch. They take a little cat nap, I suppose you could call it. Are you in the habit of taking naps, Helen?
I'm not, actually. I don't usually take naps, but since I would like to be a creative genius and I'm a little bit far from being one, maybe this method of napping a particular way will bring me closer to the mind of a creative genius.
Now, of course, at least in the United States where I'm from, napping at noontime is not common. So when I came to Taiwan here and saw people taking naps after lunch, I thought it was a little unusual. But when I tried it myself, I realized that, hey, that's actually pretty good. It actually gives you more energy for the rest of the day. It's actually a good idea. But today we're going to be talking about a special kind of nap that is not your normal noontime nap. It involves holding a heavy object or something like that. Then you fall asleep and drop the object and it wakes you up quickly. My goodness, that sounds pretty weird, but I guess some creative geniuses have sworn by this method.
So today we're going to look at a particular method of increasing your creativity, and it involves taking naps in a particular way.
Indeed. So we're going to boost our creativity with this special kind of nap. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the first part of our lesson, and we'll be right back to discuss it.
How to nap like a creative genius. Would you like to give your creativity a quick boost? Here's something you can do. First, sit in a comfortable chair holding a heavy object in one hand. Then, simply let yourself nod off. Just as you're drifting off, the object should fall from your hand, and the noise it makes as it hits the floor will pull you back to full consciousness in a state of heightened creativity. Indeed, several creative geniuses, including Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali, absolutely swore by the method.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 boost， 这个字是动词，指提高增长。例如 Ellen boosts her immune system by regularly taking vitamin C. Ellen 借由定期服用维他命 C 来增强免疫力。另外这个字也可以当作名词，意思是提升、改善或是推动。举例来说 If you need a boost of energy, there are chocolate bars in the kitchen. 如果你需要补充精力的话，冰箱里有巧克力棒。或者 The company's sales got a boost from a recent news story that drew attention to their products. 最近一则新闻让这间公司的产品受到关注，而使他们的销售量大增。接下来我们看到动词 heighten， 表示使增强或是提高。例如The wine heightens the flavor of the beef. 红酒让牛肉风味更升级。或是 The lecture heightened Helen's awareness of mental health. 这场讲座提高了 Helen 对心理健康的认识。另外这个字在课文中的用法为过去分词做形容词用，指提升的或是增强的。像是 Due to the outbreak of COVID-19, the government implemented heightened precautionary measures. 由于新冠病毒疫情爆发，政府实施加强的预防措施。也可以说 We have to install the heightened antivirus software to protect our computers. 我们必须安装加强版的防毒软体来保护我们的电脑。
So the first sentence in the lesson asks us a question. Would you like to give your creativity a quick boost? So we're talking about creativity, and creativity is the ability to use your imagination to create things or to come up with new ideas. And creativity is the noun form of to create and the adjective form is creative. And there is a way that you can give your creativity a quick boost. A boost is an increase in the amount of power of something. So if you want to boost your artistic creativity, that is, your ability to use your imagination to create art, then maybe you need to paint more or take some art lessons or go to the museum, for instance. These are ways that you can increase your artistic creativity.
And when we talk about creativity or being creative, we do indeed often think of the arts. Maybe you want to come up with an idea for a song or a painting or a novel or something like that. But creativity can also be used in the business world. You can come up with new marketing campaigns and stuff like that, or new ways to do business and things like that. So, of course, creativity is necessary in jobs all over the world. And maybe you would like to give your creativity a quick boost. Sometimes we have what is called writer's block, where you just can't come up with any new ideas for a story or something like that. So you need something to give your creativity a boost. If you give yourself a boost, it gives you a sudden increase in something. Oftentimes, people can give you a boost if you can't reach things on the top shelf. Hey, can you give me a boost? I can't reach that book on the top shelf. But here, of course, we're talking about giving yourself some kind of sudden increase in creativity.
Yes, and here's something that you can do to boost your creativity. First, sit in a comfortable chair, holding a heavy object in one hand. So you could be holding, let's say, a heavy book in one hand. Then simply let yourself nod off. To nod off means to fall asleep. So you're sitting there and you don't intend on taking a nap or going to sleep. You're sitting there, perhaps reading a book, watching television, and then suddenly you feel tired, you feel drowsy, and then you nod off, you fall asleep.
And just as you're drifting off, the object should fall from your hand, and the noise it makes as it hits the floor will pull you back to full consciousness in a state of heightened creativity. Okay, so this is the technique here. Basically, you try to sleep while you're holding a heavy object, and then you're going to drift off to sleep. Drift off is similar in meaning to nodding off. Drift off to sleep, basically start sleeping, and then, of course, the object should fall from your hand, and it will hit the floor, and the noise it makes will wake you up rather quickly.
Yes, it will wake you up, and when that happens, you will have been pulled back to a state of heightened creativity. So your creative state will be heightened, which means that it will be increased, and it's that sudden feeling of waking up because you heard the noise of the heavy object falling on the ground. So obviously you can't have carpeting or rugs because then you won't hear the object dropping. But that sudden surprise, that jolt that you get from hearing the object drop is supposed to pull you back to consciousness, and then that will heighten your creativity.
Yep, to heighten basically means to move something to a higher level, basically. You'll awake in a higher level of creativity or a heightened state or condition of creativity. Indeed, several creative geniuses, including Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali, absolutely swore by the method. Okay, this does sound rather strange. It does sound rather radical. You can't imagine a lot of people taking a nap in a comfortable chair holding a heavy object only to be woken up by the sound of that object hitting the floor a couple of minutes later, and then that will snap you back to consciousness and you'll be in a heightened state of creativity. But we have some examples of some famous people who swore by this method. If you swear by something, you have accepted it and you think it is a really legitimate thing. You swear by that thing. A friend of mine swore by using aloe vera for pretty much everything, for any kind of skin problem. She always was using aloe vera. She swore by aloe vera. It was her magic elixir.
Yes, and Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali absolutely swore by this method. And absolutely means completely. So you can add the word absolutely when you want to emphasize something. For instance, instead of asking, are you sure? Are you sure you want to go out tonight? You can say, are you absolutely sure? Because maybe there are many reasons against going out. So it's a word of emphasis. And you can also say, these cookies are absolutely delicious. These are the best cookies I have ever tasted. And these two individuals, Thomas Edison, who is an American inventor, and Salvador Dali, he is a Spanish artist. In Spanish, his name would be pronounced Dali. These two people swear by this method of nodding off to sleep and then being suddenly woken up by sound.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part.
One team of scientists recently decided to test this claim using a controlled experiment. Participants were presented with a set of math problems that could be solved either by following a simple set of rules or by applying a much faster secret method. Researchers found that those who had momentarily fallen asleep before being jolted awake during their designated rest period were far more likely to find the secret method than those who hadn't.
第二部分我们看到单字 participant， 这个字是名词，指参与者或是参加者。例如 All the participants in the race were given a T-shirt at the end as a gift. 所有参与者在比赛结束后会得到一件 T-shirt 作为奖品。或是 Each participant in the game is required to wear a uniform. 这场比赛的每位参加者都被要求穿着制服。另外补充这个字的动词 participate, P-A-R-T-I-C-I-P-A-T-E, participate, 表示参加或是参与。我们可以说 If you can't be at the office for the meeting, you can participate remotely. 如果你不能在开会时到办公室，你可以远端参与。或是 The teacher tried to get all of the students to participate in the game. 老师努力让所有学生都参与到游戏。
So in the last part, we mentioned some people who swore by the method of nodding off to heighten their creativity. But scientists have also done some research into this method. One team of scientists recently decided to test this claim using a controlled experiment. So the claim that we're talking about is the claim that you can heighten your creativity by nodding off and holding a heavy object and letting it drop on the ground. And they decided to test this claim using a controlled experiment. A controlled experiment is done in a place by scientists where scientists can control all the things that might affect the test. So it might be done in a laboratory or in an environment where nothing else might influence the result of the experiment.
Right. And of course, again, the scientists control this experiment. They control the environment. And the participants were presented with a set of math problems that could be solved either by following a simple set of rules or by applying a much faster secret method. So that's what the experiment was all about. And we had people who took part in this experiment. We had subjects in the experiment. We're calling them participants, people who participate in this particular scientific experiment. They were presented with a set of mathematical problems that they needed to solve, and they had a choice of two ways to solve those math problems. They could solve them either by following a simple set of rules, or they could apply a much faster secret method. I'm not very good at math myself, but I guess you could just use the standard way of solving these math problems, or you could use kind of a special secret way to solve those math problems.
Yes, and researchers found that those who had momentarily fallen asleep before being jolted awake during their designated rest period were far more likely to find the secret method than those who had not. those who hadn't. And here, the word researcher refers to somebody who studies a subject in detail in order to test new ideas or discover new facts. So these researchers, these scientists found that those who had momentarily fallen asleep before being jolted awake, momentarily fall asleep means they only fell asleep for a short time. They didn't take a very long nap. It may have been only 15, 20 minutes. So they slept momentarily. And these people were better able to find the secret method of solving the math problem than those who had not fallen asleep.
Absolutely. So, of course, you got the researchers here. They are conducting research, and they had some conclusions here. They found or concluded that those who fell asleep just for a short amount of time, and then they were jolted awake by the sound of that object dropping on the floor. And, of course, they were jolted awake during their designated rest period, the amount of time that they were supposed to sleep. If you designate something, basically you assign someone that thing, you give them that amount of time. In this particular case, they were given a period of time to rest, but they were actually jolted awake during that rest period. I guess they were woken up early, and if that happened to them, they were much more likely to find that secret method for solving that math problem, and they could solve it much faster than those who had not been jolted awake during the designated rest period.
Yes, and the word jolt here means to move somebody or something suddenly, or somebody or something moves suddenly and roughly. You can say, for instance, the sound of the teacher's voice jolted the student awake. The student had nodded off in class, and the teacher saw the student was angry and yelled at the student, and that sound jolted the student awake, for instance.
Right. If you accidentally touch an electric fence, for example, you might get a jolt of electricity. There, the word jolt is being used as a noun, but jolt can also be a verb as it is used here in this sentence here. You could be jolted awake with the sound of a barking dog, for example. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's go on now to the third part and wrap things up about this particular method to heighten your creativity.
It's still not clear why the technique works. Perhaps it has something to do with the partial loss of control over one's thoughts and the subsequent opening up of novel associations. What's important, however, is that it does work. If you frequently experience mental blocks, you might like to try this proven creativity hack.
"第三部分我们看到形容词 partial 指部分的或是不完全的，像是 The partial failure of the plane's electrical system forced it to make an emergency landing. 那架飞机的电子系统部分故障，迫使飞机紧急降落。也可以说 The space probe only sent back partial readings of the planet to Earth. 那艘太空探测船只将该行星部分读数传回地球。最后我们看到单字 subsequent， 这个字是形容词，指随后的或是接着发生的。我们可以说 Eric's subsequent trips to France were just as rewarding as his first visit. Eric 后来再去法国玩，都如同他第一次去时一样收获良多。或是 Marvin made a subsequent bid to buy the business after his first was rejected. Marvin 首次出价要买那家公司不成之后，接着又出价一次。
So creative geniuses have sworn by this method, and scientists have also done controlled experiments that prove this method works. However, it's still not clear why the technique works. Perhaps it has something to do with the partial loss of control over one's thoughts and the subsequent opening up of novel associations. So one possibility of why this method works is that when we fall asleep momentarily, we have a partial loss of control over our thoughts. So we don't fully lose control of our thoughts. We only have a partial loss of control. Partial means not complete or only in part. And this can lead to the opening up of novel associations.
An association is just how you connect one thing with another, an association between one idea and one person or something like that. It helps us create new ideas.
Yes, for instance, I could say there is a strong association between the smell of chocolate chip cookies and my childhood, happy memories of my childhood, because when I was a kid, my mother used to bake these cookies all the time. So now there is an association between the smell and happy memories. And here we also have the word subsequent, loss of control over one's thoughts and the subsequent opening up of novel associations. So subsequent refers to something that happens or comes after something else.
Right, so if you have some problems coming up with some new ideas for a new novel or for a business strategy or something like that, this might be a technique to consider. What's important, however, is that it does work. If you frequently experience mental blocks, you might like to try this proven creativity hack. So again, this is all about mental blocks. You just can't come up with any new ideas. You've used up all your ideas. You've run out of things to say. You have a mental block. And this might let you open up some new associations. And yes, it is a proven creativity hack. And here we've got the word hack. That just means a special technique to do something. There are YouTube videos all over the place of people showing daily hacks, new ways to fold your clothes that you'd never thought of before, or how to put a nail into a piece of wood or something. Instead of using the common hammer and nail method, maybe there are new hacks that you can try that will save you time.
Yes, and this is a new hack, and it's supposed to be a very useful way of boosting your creativity and to unblock your mental block. And it doesn't really cost anything. It doesn't involve anything that could be harmful, so why not give it a try?
Might be interesting. I think I'll try it after our program today. So that brings us to the end of our explanation. It's time now to listen to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分的最后一句写道，研究人员发现在指定休息期间，那些在惊醒前短暂睡着的人比没有睡着的人更有可能找到秘密方法。好，那它是用 those who had ... were far more likely to find the secret method than those who hadn't。 他用这样的句型呢来比较两组参与者，他用到的句型结构就是 A be far more likely to do something than B。 好，那这边我们就来整理 likely 的相关句型。Likely 当形容词，它是表达可能的，表示几率很高。那前面可以加上 more, less 或是 very 等等来修饰它可能的程度。我们常用的句型有两种，第一个是It is likely 加上 that 子句，其中的 that 可以省略不用，像是 It is likely that Nick will be chosen as the team leader. Nick 很有可能被选为队长。好，那么第二个常用的句型是主词 be likely to 加上原形动词，你就把它想成 somebody or something is likely to do something 这样。好，像刚刚的例句，你也可以说 Nick is likely to be chosen as the team leader。那我们顺便补充，也可以用到说主词 be more likely to do something than ...去表达说什么什么比起什么什么更可能做某事。像我们课文就是用这样的句型，它只是在 more likely 前面再加上副词 far 去修饰，去强调说前者提到的这个东西比后者这个东西还更有可能做某事。那我们来造个例句 According to the study, women are more likely to be diagnosed with depression than men. 根据那项研究，女性比男性更有可能被诊断出患有忧郁症。好，那我们接着看到课文第三部分的第二句，它写到 Perhaps it has something to do with ... 它的意思就是说，或许啊，这个方法与什么什么有关。我们这边就来介绍 have to do with 点点点，它就表示和什么有关联。那么 have 之后常常会加入修饰语来表达关联的程度，像 have everything to do with 什么什么，就是跟什么什么密切相关。那如果是 have something to do with 就是有关联， have little to do with 是没什么关联， have nothing to do with 则是毫无关联。好，举例来说， I'm not sure what she's upset about.I guess it has something to do with her boyfriend. 我不确定她在不高兴什么我想是跟她的男朋友有关吧。好，那再看个例句哦。Your attitude has everything to do with your happiness. 你的态度与快乐密切相关。好，另外可能你也会听到这个 want nothing to do with 点点点，则是表达不想参与什么，不想跟什么有任何关系。像是 She wanted nothing to do with their plan.就是说他不想参与他们的计划。那这个句子你也可以说成 She didn't want anything to do with their plan 也是可以的。好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Creativity. Teachers should do their best to encourage creativity in their students. Boost. We need to find a way to give our employees' spirits a boost. Absolutely.Are you absolutely certain that you paid your phone bill last month? Participant. Participants were divided into groups on the basis of their age. Researcher. When Sandy had finished her studies, she got a job as a researcher. Partial. Unfortunately, what you have suggested is only a partial solution to the problem. Subsequent. His first film was very popular, but his subsequent films failed to impress. Association.We learn to make associations between events that occur together.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. What would be some good uses for the creativity hack mentioned in the article?
Well, I think the creativity hack would be good for boosting my creativity when I write, because often I hit writer's block and it takes a while for me to get rid of that block. So I'm going to try and use this method.
Interesting. Well, people often get mental blocks while doing the same repetitive task over and over again, and I think the creativity hack could help me with my basketball skills. I just don't seem to be able to improve my free throw percentage, and so if I took a nap before working out on the court, maybe I can improve my shooting skills. Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoyed reading along with us. I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.